Flacco hurt himself lifting weights. Flacco is expected to miss at least a week of camp. This morning, the Ravens announced they've signed quarterback David Olson, who played in an indoor football league. Shannon, what does this tell you?
It tells me that they don't believe Joe Flacco's injury is as serious as the high end of what people have thought. They said 3 to 6 weeks. I think it's more, they think it's in line with more of the 1 to 2 weeks. And knowing Ozzie Newsome the way I do, he wouldn't do Cap like this. He wouldn't bring Cap in just to use him as an arm. It was reported that they had to use some of the assistant coaches to just complete drills yesterday. Yep. So I do not believe, and I like to think that I know Ozzie fairly well, that he wouldn't do this to Cap. Because here's the thing, Skip. If you bring Cap in and Joe comes back, are you going to keep Cap as a third quarterback? Because they have Mallett and they got $2 million tied up in him. Are you willing to do that to Cap? Cap, either he's a starter or a backup. He's not a third quarterback. And so that's what it tells me. It tells me that Joe Flacco's injury is not as serious as a lot of people think it is, and Ozzie would not bring him in just to be an arm body. But it's going to take someone like the Ravens, a general manager, Ozzie Newsome, a head coach in John Harbaugh, and a Steve Bisciotti, who's great in the community, general manager and head coach that's on firm footing, to bring Colin Kaepernick in. And that's what I thought early on, that it would be the Kansas City Chiefs, because Andy's on strong footing. Now, Clark Hunt said, though, we'd have no problem bringing him in. It's easy to say when you have Alex Smith and you drafted a quarterback in the first round, because you're never going to have to be put to the test to find out. But I believe this is why Colin didn't sign with the Ravens, is because Joe Flacco's injury is not as serious as maybe some think, and Ozzie doesn't want to bring him in just to be a camp arm and to release him in 2 weeks.
I'm sorry. This is another bad sign for Colin Kaepernick. And in the end, my takeaway is even the Ravens done him wrong. They put him in an awkward position again, because they talked about how much, John Harbaugh talked about how much he loves Colin Kaepernick, how many conversations he had with Colin Kaepernick. They've talked about politics and they've talked about religion and all these deep things, and that he really loves him as a young man and admires him as a quarterback performer, what he's done for, obviously, John's brother Jim. And yet, there were some other quotes that I saw yesterday from John Harbaugh that are damaging to Colin. And they are, it depends in the end, what's his passion, what's his priority, what's he want to do, and what kind of shape is he in? Well, this is echoing those same sentiments we've heard from other teams, like, does he really want to do this or not? Is he really in shape or not? Is he really trying to get ready to be an NFL quarterback, or is he doing something else?
Right.
I don't love this. It hurts his reputation again. And yet, you bring in David Olson, as you point out. And just for the record, David Olson hasn't even been an arena league quarterback. He's been a minor league indoor quarterback in the minor, the minor league to the arena league. Just some indoor league for the Wichita Force and the Kansas City Phantom. Okay. And in between, he had a job as a sales engineer for Concepts Packaging in Greenville, South Carolina. So it's come to this. He's going to be brought in. Again, you can just argue to be a camp sort of arm. But why did Colin's name even have to come up here? Did it do him good or harm? Because to me, it does him harm again. And yet, when I step back from this situation, you know how I feel about Joe Flacco, as I call him. His playoff record is
impeccable.
It's just impeccable. It's inarguable. It's not debatable. He's been sensational in the postseason. Regular season, not so much. So after he beat, barely, Colin Kaepernick in that Super Bowl, they made him the highest paid player. We just talked about Odell. Joe Flacco became the highest paid player in the National Football League. And then they extended him again in 2016 and gave him a bonus that, again, was a record bonus. For Joe Flacco? So since the Super Bowl, the Ravens' record is, in the regular season, 31-33. Is that the highest paid quarterback in pro football? And in that time since he won that Super Bowl, Joe Flacco is 19th in completion percentage, only 17th in touchdown passes, and he's thrown the third most interceptions since he won a Super Bowl. to Eli and Phillip Rivers, who are 1-2.
But that's who but Skip, you
Okay.
know that's who he is in the regular season.
Okay, that's who he is. But I can make a case. When I look at Colin Kaepernick's regular season records, he's better than Joe Flacco. Seriously. I'm not just saying that for a fact. I really, if you gave me a choice today, again, I can't argue with the postseason, but Cap's been pretty great in the postseason too, right? I mean, we don't have the body of work.
Yeah.
But if I just look at regular season, Cap's been a little better. And his touchdowns to interceptions in the regular season, Colin Kaepernick, 72 touchdowns to only 30 interceptions over that's his whole body of work in the regular season.
Right.
Flacco, regular season, 182 touchdowns, pretty good, but 117 interceptions is pretty bad. Well, okay, so I can make a case, like you like the Ravens this year. I think they would be a little better. I would give them a little better chance to go farther with Colin Kaepernick as their quarterback than Joe Flacco. That's just me.
Skip, but if you look at Joe, he's never going to have the highest completion percentage because he throws the ball down the field. He's an over-the-top thrower of the football. He's never going to wow you with his numbers. He's not going to throw for 35 touchdowns and single-digit interceptions. That's not who he is. He's not going to lead in QBR or passer rating or whatever stat you want to judge a quarterback by, other than wins and losses come playoff time. And that's what he is. He is a big game hunter when it comes to the playoffs.
Okay.
But if you look at his regular season resume, and that's what happens, Skip, they roll the dice. He hit 7. You went, Skip, I don't care what the player is. You win the Super Bowl and you're in a contract year, you're going to get paid either from the team that you're on or somebody's going to pay you once you leave via free agency. But I still believe, if I thought for a second, and I'm going to give the Ravens the benefit of the doubt, and I don't really like all the comments that he said. It's hard to say. When people say in shape, you don't get in football shape by running and doing stuff on your own. You got to play football. Take it from a guy, and I pride myself on being in very good shape. But it still took me 3 or 4 days to get acclimated to having a helmet on, because I can assure you, in the offseason, nobody's running sprints with a helmet. Nobody's running sprints with shoulder pads, and nobody's doing all this stuff in cleats. So it takes your body time to get used to that. But if you brought Cap in and gave him an opportunity, how do you know what passion is? You're standing over the fence. I don't know. You don't know what a dog will bite if you just stand there and look at it. Maybe you got to go in the yard. Maybe you got to bring Cap in and see what he has. Work him out to see if he's and talk. I don't know I don't know if they brought Cap in. Like I said, I hadn't touched bases with him in a couple of weeks. So I don't know if they sat down with him face to face. But
well, it sounds like they've had deep conversations.
But see, Skip,
John did.
You look, talking on the phone with someone and talking to someone in person is something entirely different, because it's kind of like emails. What's the tone? What's his body language? What's he looking at? Now, I can read something, but I don't know. But now you tell me, and I'm looking at you. Now I get a better sense of what you're actually saying.
Yep.
I just believe that the Ravens Ozzie wouldn't do this to Cap just to bring him in to be an arm for 1 or 2 weeks.
Okay, I got it.
Third quarter.
Okay, but seriously, is Colin Kaepernick better than Ryan Mallett? I think so.
I think so too.
Is Ryan Mallett more like Joe Flacco? Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Sure.
But here's the thing, and this is also a reason, Skip. Remember, Tyrod Taylor was on the Baltimore Ravens. They wanted to keep him.
They did.
And they made a serious offer. But Buffalo promised him the opportunity to compete for the starting job.
Because every time Tyrod got in the game, he lit it up.
Right. So, and ask yourself this. Now, you've seen Tyrod in Buffalo. You saw Cap in San Francisco. Are you telling me that Tyrod Taylor is a better quarterback than Cap? Now, we've seen Cap go. It's not, and people are like, well, look what Cap had. It's not like Tyrod Taylor has trash. He has Sammy Watkins. He has LaShawn McCoy. He has some very good talent around him on the offensive side of the football. I just think if someone were to really seriously give Cap an opportunity, and if he can't play, he can't play. But you at least bring him in and give him that opportunity to show you he can or he can't. To sit here and for us to speculate, well, he can't play. All we know is what he did.
Okay.
His body of work is.
I'm just getting tired of lip service. I'm getting tired of the Clark Hunts, and I like Clark Hunt. I knew him from my days in Dallas. But again, it's just lip service. He got to ask on a radio show.
Yeah.
Sure, I would have no hesitation. Like you said, it's pretty easy to say when you're stacked in your whole quarterback roster, you're not going to bring in Colin Kaepernick. So you're paying lip service. I'm afraid that Pete Carroll just paid some lip service because his whole locker room sounded like most of them wanted Colin Kaepernick, and all of a sudden he didn't want him.
And this team, his players have been the most outspoken on Cap's behalf.
Yeah.
Say the guy should be playing. He's good enough to be a quarterback in this league. And for whatever reasons, and some have said, you know, hey, look, have they called each other and like, don't you sign Cap, don't you sign Cap? But it was just like when the black quarterback situation, Skip.
I agree.
Nobody called and said, don't take a black quarterback.
No.
But it was like, I ain't taking him. I ain't taking him. I ain't taking him.
So now more damage is done to Cap's reputation because Pete Carroll said no. And then for whatever reason, again, the big picture takeaway by most people is going to be John Harbaugh, Jim's brother, and Ozzie.
Yeah.
They couldn't find a place for him.
I believe if
I got it. I know the reality is, I get that. But still, they sounded so optimistic about how he would fit in, how well he could do. And then all of a sudden, he's out.
I still believe in him. I still believe the Ravens going to.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
How?
And they're going to go to the Super Bowl.
Oh, you still believe in the Ravens?
They signed Cap, going to the Super Bowl.
I don't understand, and maybe I'm missing something, so maybe someone can explain to me. What is this constant mantra of we don't know what his priority or passion is?
Yeah.
Did he skip a game last year? Did he kneel during an action, like during action? Was he late to practice or to training camp or to a game?
I love how now
I really truly do not understand where that is coming from.
They're starting to view him as a crusader, as beyond being just the quarterback.
Okay, but plenty of athletes and players do stuff off the field. It doesn't make any sense to me.
There are 32 teams. There are 53 men per team. How many guys' passion is football?
I mean, it's just.
They make it seem like everybody's devoted, like Tom Brady or like a Peyton Manning.
Tom Brady is dedicated, but Tom Brady also does things for his community. I'm sure he's involved in charities.
But they're not 53 Tom Bradys. Is my point. They're trying to make it seem like everybody on their roster is as dedicated as a Peyton Manning or Drew Brees.
I just want to know what the outrage is for Des Bryant being a few hours late. Is he dedicated to football? Nobody's questioning whether he's dedicated to football. He was late, and that's not a jab at Des Bryant. I'm just saying.
It's just the facts.
Yes, it's a fact.
If I can take it to the severest degree here, if you're dedicated to going to church, does that mean you can't play in the NFL?
Right.
And that's the same sort of.
Exactly. So if you pray before a game, like I don't understand it. It's lip service.
Well, you don't want, and the thing is, Skip, if you don't want somebody, guess what you can do? You reach up here. Oh, let me get that excuse. Nobody used that one yet. Let me get that one.
The excuse machine is on full throttle right now. Can Kyrie Irving lead a team to a title by himself? We'll debate that next.